when you're conservative and you're successful and you have notoriety or influence, and you don't go along with the left's ideology, you are marked. I mean, the media is going to attack you because you don't believe in their ideology. And under Biden, the DOJ, the legal system, they will literally, you're not safe. You've lost your freedom of speech. You've lost your liberties.
In a matter of seconds, 10 seconds to be precise, somebody can go from pillar of the pizza universe to being the attention of a globally shameful experience. Today we have Papa John Schnatter. So happy to have you here. Can't wait to hear your story. He took this, you'll share a little bit of your story, how you took it from literally nothing, borrowed money no less, and built it into over 5,000 stores worldwide, and then the unimagiable happened, and they forced you out of your own company. Welcome, John. Nice to meet you so
Welcome,
much.
John.
Yeah,
thank you for being here.
Yeah, this was lovely.
Yeah. So I know you shared the story a million times, and but you can't share it enough because there's a lot of people out there who don't know the story, and you should share the story. I hope you don't get tired of sharing your story. Like rock stars who keep performing their hits, some of them really don't like singing their songs, but I hope you like singing your song. Would you share with us for a few minutes how you started the company and how you started to get some traction?
Well, this was interesting because I tell youth today, the key to success is find something you're good at and something you love to do. So I worked for Joe John and Frank Fondrisi, the Fondrisi brothers, and they had Rocky's Sub Pub, and it wasn't doing particularly well, and they hired me as a dishwasher for like $2.35 an hour, and I hated washing dishes. I hated it. So across from where the dishwasher was where Joe Fondrisi made pizzas. And I wanted to make pizzas. I just wanted to get out of the dishwashing and making pizzas. And so they got a write-up in the Sunday newspaper and just blew the doors off the place. So they went from actually running the operations to the front of the house taking care of the guests. And I got a promotion from washing dishes to making pizzas.
That's awesome.
And I fell in love with it. I mean, I just love pizza. And it was just like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. The sauce, the cheese, the toppings. I was dating a girl and I would actually write little notes on the pizza out of pepperoni when she would come in, and I'd flirt with her with the pizza. And so I just love pizza, and I made pizzas at Greet's Pizzeria in college. I worked nights, and I drove a forklift during the day at Cut Rate Liquors. Later welded barges during the day, and then I would make pizzas at Rocky's, and that's how I would get through school and then also get through college. And then went to college with Chris Karamessini, the Greek, and learned about volume, and learned a few other tricks about Munster cheese, and the best ovens, the deck ovens. Fondrisi cooked out of a Blodgett, good oven, but it didn't really have the horsepower to maintain the heat. So the busier you got, the cook didn't quite go as good. Chris Karamessini told me about the Breaker's Pride, 601, 602. 602 means there's two decks instead of one. And it was a more powerful oven, and you could really cook good pizzas. And in college, we were just blowing the doors off of it. I mean, we would do 8,000 a week at Rocky's in pizza, and at Greek's Pizzeria, we do $8,000 a day.
Wow.
So I had this love of pizza, and I was at college. Almost dropped out of college, and my mom was a disciplinarian, and she was tough as nails. Total integrity.
Almost dropped out because you love pizza so
I
much
wanted
you wanted to open your own pizza place. That's awesome.
I wanted to go to Bloomington, Indiana, and start a Greek's franchise.
Oh,
and so I came up with the recipes of what I thought was the best between the two. I had done a little work at Gaddy's, worked at Domino's to learn the system on delivery. And so I basically went around and stole the best ideas from all the major players.
Good.
Mr. Gaddy's, yeah. And had everything but a name. Had the recipes, had the layout, the store, the equipment, had everything but didn't have a name. But we had a marketing guy on the 5th floor of La Follette dorm. And I said, hey, I need a name. And he was from Chicago, a marketing major. And he came back 3 days later with the name Papa John's. And it was a print-driven business with coupons. And I love the way the name Papa John's looked.
Cool.
And it was named after me, so I guess my ego kicked in a little bit with that. Right. And I told him, I said, if it ever goes big, you get a pizza a week for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Did you honor that?
Well, I would if you'd ever come forward.
Oh.
So this guy's in Chicago.
Wow.
He's on the 5th floor of La Follette dorm. It's 1982. he came up with it. He's got to know that Papa John's has gone big.
Wow.
So I said, I'll give you a pizza a week for the rest of your life free if it ever goes big. So I think if you run the math on 40 years
You'll know a lot.
at $10 a week,
It's a lot
I
of
think I
pizza.
owe this guy $20,000, whatever the math is. But I owe him a big
more
number.
than
But
that,
yeah, probably is.
That's
Well,
awesome.
So anyway, I took all the recipes and the name and everything, and I hid it in a box. And I hid it in my closet under my clothes back in Jeffersonville, Indiana, where I lived, and finished college in 3 years, and came out of college.
What'd you study, John?
I studied business.
Okay.
I was almost had a minor in math. I love math.
I love math too.
Yeah, it's God's language, at least at elementary
Love
level.
math.
And I was so blessed through the years to have great Miss Jenkins in third grade, Rick Myers in middle school, Philip Peters in calculus and algebra, math. And so I took a math 4 in college, and I love, we went so far with math where, when you're 10th to the negative 37th, I think it is, mathematics actually bends. So as you enter from the 3-dimensional world to the 5th dimensional, mathematically it actually bends a little bit. So we
Wow.
got a little bit of taste of that in college, but I was a few hours short on the minor, but I wanted to get back and get a job at Cummins Diesel or Brown Foreman
In Indiana.
in Indiana.
Yeah.
And my dad had this Bankrupt bar and wanted to know if I'd go in and run it. Well, in the interim, I'd made good grades, finished in college in 3 years, and was a pretty good athlete, and had a lot of fun with it. But I always had to work harder than the other kids. And I remember being 18, 19, and it was like yesterday, and it was like, God, just give me something that I could do better, that I don't have to work so freaking hard to be average a little better. And didn't think much of it. And so Dad throws me in this bar. We're $64,000. He thought he was $10,000 in debt, but it ended up being $64,000, headed for bankruptcy.
Wow.
Filthy. Employees are ripping him off. Beer's not cold. McBurgers aren't hot. And I go in, and in 8 days, it was, I don't know, was it the DNA, the genetics? It was like, my God, I could run a business. It was the most natural thing, intuitive, that I'd ever done.
Wow.
And Dad came in day 8 and says, just do the best you can, cut the losses because this thing's going under. And I said, no, Dad, I think I can fix this.
Wow.
And we put in Denise Robinson and Sonny, the bartender. We got personal people, Roxanne, Glenn, and we made the beer really cold, 33 degrees. We made that big McBurger better and everything. We had, fried steak, meatloaf, fried chicken. My
Wow.
dad he was a great cook, so he would cook the plate lunches.
Wow.
And this thing's doing like $2,000 a week, and it's losing. And within a month and a half, we were doing $7,000 a week in beer
Wow.
sales and $1,000 a week in pool tables. And when I bought there was 2 pool tables. They were doing $500 a week, but we had to split it with the vendor. But there was no contract, so I bought the vendor out, put 2 more pool tables in. Pool table rent to $1,000 a week cash.
Wow.
So we went from $250 to $1,000 in coins every week, and that was my savior. That vendor money, the
Wow.
cigarette money, the poker machine money, and the pool table money.
Wow.
And we slowly clawed back, and from Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend of '83 till January 4th of '84, we paid off $32,000 in debt.
Wow.
And see, in pool table revenue in Indiana, you don't pay taxes.
Oh, really?
We
had no idea.
We were broke. I mean, we were
Wow.
survival.
Cash.
So,
Wow.
cash.
Ah, yeah,
and we were
yes.
I'm sending that $1,000. I mean, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. We owed Teddy Throckmorton $13,000 in beer. We owed the Indiana State
Wow.
Sales Department $10,000. We had our in Ruth McKinley. If we come back to this story, that's a pretty interesting story because Ruth McKinley saved my tail. We owed him $10,000, and about 3 weeks in, they cut me off. And I said, I swear to God, Ari, I'll pay you back. And Ruth looked at
Who
Ari.
cut you off?
My Budweiser distributor.
Oh, wow.
Budweiser, Pabst, which was the #1 seller, and Bud Light, Michelob. And they cut me off. And I paid them and I sold my car.
Oh,
and
my
I took
God.
that $2,500 on that car and I gave it to Ruth and Ari, and he still tried to cut me off. And this was like bad. This was bad.
I've had my merchant services cut off in my company, credit card process.
Yeah, you don't ever forget that. Yeah. And so she looked at Ari and said, Ari, send him the beer. Now, if I don't get that load of beer, I'm not sitting here today. I mean, it
Yeah.
was a big deal. So we paid all these people off $32,000, and then Clark County and Citizens Bank loaned me the other 32, and that was about $64,000
Wow.
that I got out of debt with, and so we were solvent January 1st of #84.
Wow.
We were off to the races, and we're
Was your
making.
dad happy or what?
Yeah, he was real happy.
He's proud of you, huh? He's like,
Yeah,
to say the least.
yeah.
And then later in '84 is when the first Papa John's opened. So
Okay, I hated the
40
bar-
years ago.
Hated the bar
Over
business.
40 years.
I hated the bar business. I hated all the alcohol, all the smoke. We had smoke, filters and all that, but just still, we had, we're doing 7,000 a week, 8,000 a week in beer sales with 50-cent, 75-cent beer.
wow.
So you've got, just run the math. So if you take the 200 people that came in there and you divide it by 16, 15,000 beers a week, whatever the number is, I mean, the average consumption is like 17, 18 beers per person per day.
Wow.
I mean, so
Wow,
my
beer.
dad had a joke is that, John would get him drunk during the day and night, and then I would get him divorced in the morning. So it was an immoral arrangement, and I hated
Wow.
it. But, it was my start. So I had that box of all the pizza,
Still in your closet?
in the closet. And so I'm sitting at the bar like March of '84, and I'm like looking at this broom closet. It's got a wall facing the dining room
In the back of
in the back of Mixed Lounge.
Yeah.
And I said, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sell pizzas in the broom closet. And so I
How many
left.
square feet?
Well,
Was it big enough for an oven?
5 by, well, like the furnace was here, and there was a little slot right here where we put the oven, and then it was probably here to that screen. So what, 15 feet, 14 feet, and then it was about 8 feet wide.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's 80 square feet, 100 square
Yeah,
feet.
Yeah.
Wow,
It was
that's
really
cool.
tiny. Oh, it was tiny.
But,
And
but
so
you put an oven in there.
I put an oven between the furnace and the wall that we built.
Wow.
And so anyway, I took a sledgehammer. This is kind of how we used to do things because I'm 22, 21 years old. I'm a pretty high-strung mammal. I mean, I'm wired up pretty good. So I took a sledgehammer and I just tore the wall down
Wow.
because we're going to expand it out 4 feet. And I left a note on the cash register for my partner, Bob Arringer. I said, Bob, I got a great idea. So the next day he walks in, just shit everywhere. I mean, it's just stuff all over the place that was drywall. And brought him in the box. I said, we're going to sell 50-cent beers in the front. We're going to sell $5 pizzas out the back.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, here I am, '84. We opened April 11th of '84. So I would have been 22.
Wow.
And
It's almost 41 years ago
Yeah.
to this day.
yeah, 41 years. And so all of a sudden, I've got what I love to do, making pizzas, and I could run a business. I got something I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And we started off the first like 2 months, we were doing maybe $800 a week because I didn't understand marketing.
Yeah.
I didn't understand you had to have a sign on the front door. I just thought if you had the best pizza and
Yeah.
you took care of your people, you'd win.
Yeah.
So I know nothing about marketing. They didn't teach that in college.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did $200 one night. My brother was in law school. I put him through law school and he did all my legal work, which
That's
came
awesome.
huge for the franchise curriculum
Mm-hmm.
and the UFOC and then all my leases.
Mm-hmm.
And this, we'll come back to this. This was, remember, Louisville to Lexington to Columbus is the fast food capital of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can have a successful concept, so Long John Silver's, Rally's, KFC, Donato's, White Castle,
Mm-hmm.
Bob
All
Evans,
started there?
all started there. We understood franchising.
Mm-hmm.
And John Y. Brown had made $15 million at KFC franchising, and Jim Patterson, who's my hero to this day, just a great restaurateur. He did Long John Silver's and made $20 million. And so I thought, this franchising must be lucrative. So we franchised like store number 5 or 6.
Wow.
So we
So
were
early, it's amazing.
we were off to the races. So one night, Tuesday night, my brother worked Tuesday night shift, and then because he was at law school the rest of the days, and we're in there, and he and I are working it, and we did $200 in a day in a broom closet. We're jumping up and down. We're doing shots of beer. We're
Wow.
going, wow! I mean, $200 in a broom closet.
$5
We thought we were rich. We thought we
$5.
were rich at $200.
That's
We just thought
awesome.
nobody can do 200, and that was kind of
Wow.
the start. Then it did 1,000. Then it did 1,500, And by January, February the next year, we're doing $3,000 in the broom closet.
Wow.
We're doing $1,000 a week in pool revenue, and we're doing 7-8 grand in 50-cent beers. We're making $140,000 a year.
Wow, that's
in
awesome.
Jeffersonville, Indiana, at 22, 23 years old, selling $5 pizzas and 50-cent beers.
That's amazing.
So this gets interesting. So the broom closet, we're busting at the seams. So the space comes up next that we had another couple pool tables in, and we converted that.
You got it the next door,
Next
and you
door.
merged them.
They were contiguous, the properties.
Oh, amazing.
And so we were actually, when we were building, we built the stores ourselves. You know, my partner and my uncle were really good carpenters and trim people, really good with their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so we built the dining room, which I'll come back to, built the kitchen, and we slowly migrated from that broom closet with that equipment over to the first store.
Wow.
So April 11th, a year to the date later, we didn't know that, it was just serendipitous. We opened the first freestanding Papa John's with a sign on the front door.
Wow.
Sales went to $9,000. They tripled. And I went, daggone, man, you put a sign on the front door, it really helps business. I mean, it was like okay.
That's awesome.
So remember, I'm pretty.
You got your MBA
yeah.
live on the spot.
Yeah. Exactly. And then remember, I'm pretty, I'm like ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pumped up. I know I'm sitting on something. I hated the bar business, but I'm making a bunch of money.
Yeah.
In this pizza thing. So I get in the car and I drive down to Domino's. And, you know, this is back when the cheese shirt was too tight and I'm wearing jeans, you know, and I'm just looking for a fight. You know?
Oh,
So I
boy.
walk in this Domino's and I go, what are you doing a week? He goes, we're doing 5,000-6,000 a week. And I look at this guy and I said, we're doing 9 a week. I'm going to kick your ass in the whole world.
Oh.
I thought if I could be Domino's in Jeffersonville, Indiana, I thought this is how crazy, that I was. It's like, if I can beat him in Jeffersonville, Indiana, I can beat him in the whole world because we make a better pizza.
That's awesome.
I thought like that.
But it's good to have a good mindset. Mindset's
guess.
everything
Well,
in life.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It was
it's
arrogant.
important.
It's over the
But
top.
mindset is everything.
You really believed it, and you had a point of differentiation in the product as well. So
When we
not that crazy.
before we sold the company he started, I don't know how much you know about it, but he was the king. I call him the king of tolls. So he's the guy that invented. If you rented a car and you went through the toll road, that was my husband's company who did all the technology in the background. So if you called Enterprise yelling at them about a charge, it was
Our
his
call
company
center.
that would answer the phones. But to have that courage to basically say, like, I can do this. And when we were going to sell, I told him, David, this is the number we're going to get for the company. And we got exactly that number. So when you put your mindset to something,
Yeah.
watch out, because it will happen
Yeah, it's
if you're focused
like
enough.
if you look at Musk or Gates or Jobs or Ford, they all look crazy. I mean, everybody else thinks you're crazy.
Yeah.
And we kind of are, but we just see things other people don't see.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they don't see it.
Yeah.
And so it's not something they can predict, something they can understand. So their default is, you're crazy.
Yeah.
I had kids from my class that, said, man, you got a college degree and you're working at a bar, you're making pizzas.
Yeah.
I mean, really kind of making fun of me.
But I can see in your eyes, though, the passion, the love to this day for pizza.
Oh, yeah.
And what you said earlier, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you're going to do something, do it from your heart and soul and do it better than everyone. I think if anybody hears that message and takes it to their heart, it is so, so true. My husband says it. In fact, something we all have in common is I worked at a pizza place at 16. Yeah. He worked at a pizza place at what, 15?
15 to 19, 20.
And probably one of the reasons why we were so madly in love.
I was a dishwasher at age 12 at an International House of Pancakes until I got promoted to busboy, and then I got promoted to short order cook. And I worked 4 jobs at the same time when I was 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was going to say,
pretty cool.
Part of the reason why we're
I hated being a
madly
dishwasher. The smell.
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember. You come home, you wear the apron, but the food particles get stuck in the apron, and you just stink so bad, right?
I
You
didn't do
just
that.
cannot shower enough.
I didn't
It
do
does
that
not
part.
come.
But what I was saying is I think the reason why we're so madly in love is we had the same philosophy when we met. It's like if I was on the floor cleaning that floor, I was going to make that floor the shiniest floor ever. I wasn't, in the back in the kitchen, but I was learning how to flip pizzas, and I was so eager to flip it better than anybody else. And I was 16 years old. But I think that's the drive, especially this young generation who seems to, want that quick dopamine fix, that, social media star and get $10,000 for a post. They don't understand where we come from.
Yeah.
We come from a place of do it, love it, and be it.
Do the best that you can be. Old school, just deliver the best experience you can to the customer.
The one thing I would want to leave with your audience is energy. We talked about that focus.
Yeah.
You know, a beam is just a beam when it's a laser, it cuts steel. And energy. If I went back to Papa John's today, I know 100%. I mean, it's in a mess. I mean, they're making probably
stocks in the 30s now.
Yeah, it's and I mean, I love the franchisees. And
that was your baby.
Yeah, you want it to do well,
Yeah.
and they kind of upset with me because I pointed out some things that are a little deficient the last 6 years, and they think I'm like wanting them to fail, or I'm like, no, it's cause and effect. If you behave like this, and you don't take care of the product, and you don't take care of your people, you're going to end up at $35 a share.
Here's a question for you. Who's writing your story, you or some random dude on the internet? If you're sick of Google, gossip blogs, or that one angry ex controlling how the world sees you, it's time to do something about it. Erase.com helps you take back your narrative by removing harmful content, outdated info, and straight-up lies from search engines. Your past shouldn't be a permanent headline. Erase.com gives you the reset button that the internet forgot to include. So don't let the web define you. Go to erase.com, use code ERASED for 10% off, and start owning your story today. Links in the description. Click it. Your future self will thank you.
Last week, they're doing on the weekends, buy one, get one free, week before last. Wow. And I think they're running negative sales. And I mean, this is when you're over 30, 31 food and you're running negative sales and you're running negative traffic, this is a recipe for, and back to that corridor, Louisville, Lexington, Columbus, you see all the successes, but you also see a lot of bones in the graveyard. Mm-hmm. So intuitively what happens when certain things don't happen in the business. And so it's energy, but it's the energy of the three-dimensional. The Lincoln, the Continental Railroad.
Yeah.
I mean, 1862, he had a vision of hooking the artery system from, the whole country, New York all the way to San Francisco.
Yeah.
But people had to sling hammers and build that railroad. I mean, there is a three-dimensional world, and you got to have that energy, but you've also got to have that energy of thought and creativity and curiosity to let the field, which Einstein said the field runs the particles. So it's the field dictates the particles, the three-dimensional. So you gotta have dreams. Yeah. You gotta.
But I want you to take us back to your dream and your vision after you knocked on the door, Domino's, and said, "We're gonna kick your butts." I want to hear more about that dream and how fast you grew and how you grew. Share more about that.
Well, the original goal was to make $50,000 a year and have $50,000 in the bank because I thought I could get a date because I could take her shopping and take her to a restaurant. The whole thing is all my success to the opposite sex, but I wanted to get a date, and when you're in a bar and you smell like smoke and pizza every night, it's not exactly easy to get a date. So that was the original goal, is to, just make $50,000 a year and have $50,000 in the bank. But we believed in franchising. My brother has the legal part of it, so the UFOC, we had that covered. Mm-hmm. And so we went to Clarksville. The first store, we built a dining room. And 98% of our business was carry out and delivery. Mm-hmm. So immediately, store number 2, we got rid of the dining room. The customer and the creator, if you just listen and you get your ego out of the way, you stay grateful, you stay humble, you're truthful. You got to have the integrity. None of this works if you don't have personal integrity and truth. It just will not work. You can't get to the next level if you don't have that foundation. So we always had positive energy and positive thoughts.
So then you opened the second one, lost the dining room, or slimmed it down.
So we cut the investment from $60,000. I think we built that store for like $8 or $10,000 because we built them ourselves, and so we switched from full-size service dining room with mozzarella sticks, zucchini, salads, a waitress. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. I had a little, kind of pedestal for the pizza. I mean, it was world class. Cold beer, to the tins. Put $100,000 in, do $10,000 a week, pay $1,000 a month rent, and make 50 grand, make 10%, 10, 10, 10,
That's
100.
nice. I like that.
And so that's a 50% return and a low investment. And that was the formula that got us to,
That's a great
store
formula.
200. So we're sitting here on store 200.
And you own 200 stores, or you franchise?
Franchise. So our limiting factor was not knowledge, product quality, what to do. Our limiting factor was talent. And so what we found, 80-20. We could run 20% of the stores competently and lead by example, but we franchised the other 80. So we stuck with 2080 pretty well up with North
That's
America to store 3,000. So that was,
Wow.
so we had 10-10-10, the 2080 rule. And the
So you had 3,000 total stores, or 3,000, part of it was 80%
80%.
franchise and 20% corporate owned?
So out of
Is that right?
3,000 stores, I think we had 550, 580,
Okay.
18, 19%, and then the
Okay.
other 2,400 plus
Wow,
were franchisees.
amazing.
But we're cruising along here, and the smartest thing everything's about discipline.
Quick question, how long did it take you to get to 3,000 stores?
Well, the first year we had 3, and then by 1989 we had 20.
Wow.
By
5 years
1993 we had 236 as we went public.
Wow.
Okay.
And so I kind of, that's what I was going to kind of tell you, but it's discipline. I mean, if you don't have discipline, accountability, you got to have passion, you got to be resilient. But we knew we had to grow in contiguous circles. Those delivery areas had to touch. In later days, these executives, these corporate, geniuses, they'd finance China, and they built one store in Shanghai and one in Beijing. We went from Jarrettsville to Clarksville because they touched, and Clarksville to New Albany, because you can leverage your marketing, your word of mouth, your supervision, your distribution. So you want to keep growing your in concentric circles, like wrapping iron around or yarn around a ball. You just want to keep going and growing, and where it just grows out. So we did Southern Indiana because there's a river, natural boundary, and then we jumped to Louisville. Mistake. Should have gone to Lexington. Louisville, I'd have 20 stores, 23 stores before I could be saturated enough for marketing, et cetera. Lexington, with a university and a big hospital, 2-3 stores, you own the town. So that was a mistake. It cost me about a year of my life to have to fix Louisville. So we finally did. We went to
just to rewind, because we also own a school, Centner Academy, and our focus on entrepreneurship. And so we have these little kids from 3rd grade that are doing their own little businesses. And what we try and teach them is, if there is a big mistake that costs you, it's an opportunity to grow and learn and make it better next time. So this is a real life example that you made a strategic mistake, and you were able to apply it to do much better with it, right?
Course
So it's
correction.
not a failure, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, mistakes are the fertilizer that growth comes. I mean, if you ain't making mistakes, you ain't learning. If you're not pushing the envelope on getting better every day in every way, you ain't learning. So it's like Elon. What a gift from God he is. I mean, he getting attacked for just telling us, by the way, you are getting taken advantage of. I mean, that's what blows my mind about what's going on.
He's getting attacked for showing the people where the
truth.
fraud is. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. If you don't have truth, you don't know nothing. He's just trying.
to
show us.
Yeah.
Can you imagine running a business and not having the balance sheet or the income statement? I mean, he's
or
just.
or $1 trillion missing and nobody is accountable for it. It's crazy.
Yeah, but you got 20 million people that are dead on Social Security. You got 2 million illegal immigrants. This guy uncovers that and gets attacked, which we'll talk about that. But this is crazy. I mean, this is a crazy ideology
we could
going
do a
on.
whole show just on that.
So I want to fast forward. So at some point, the NFL and Major League Baseball became an important part of your marketing campaign, and big ad dollars. I think like $40 million or more was directed towards some of these efforts. How did that idea come about, and how long was that partnership, and how was it working for you?
Yeah, real quickly, we got to 236, June of '93, went public. So our limiting factor was talent, management, and capital. Even at 230 stores, I couldn't make enough money to do as fast as I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I was we had somewhat of a capital restraint. I was like overdrawn.
Fast growth, fast growth.
Bouncing checks.
Yeah.
I mean, because if I
company.
saw a better oven, I bought it. I mean, I did not, Baker Pride, you can buy one for $3,000. A Middleby Marshall was $12, but it cooks a better pizza. The awnings. technology, anything that made Papa John's better.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I
You
was going to
wanted it.
fire. I mean, I
You wanted to
fired
make it
at it
happen.
because I knew in the long run that we'd be successful. 95% of customer loyalty is customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a problem because the customer experience can exceed the employee experience.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a good culture, if your people are not happy, you're not going to have happy guests.
Yeah.
You know, so we hired the best people. We paid them every dime we could pay them. That, you know, hopefully overpaid them. We eventually got to that point.
That's what I would do.
And you know, yeah, you want to. I mean, leadership's simple. What's the goal?
Hadn't always worked though.
You know, what's the goal? What's the objective?
Right.
Give them the resources to get it done. And when they get it right, make sure they get a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, give them, you know, celebrate. So that's leadership to me is an easy thing. So we go public in '93. We raised $25 million. I went from where we didn't literally have $5,000 for a vacation in June of '93 to, I think in one day I was worth $100 million. In one day, and I'm 31. They don't have a book on that. You know, and it's a problem. You know, I mean, it's in a good way, but it's like a lot.
Yeah, I was CEO of a publicly traded company when I was 30 as well, but I took out a little bit of cash, but I felt like a king in the world. Most of it was all on paper, pretty much. Yeah.
So the NFL, to answer the question, that was Andrew Varga in 2009. He said, let's move the business to sports, and so he had the nerve to put a $10 million bet on the NFL. And this was a big bet because if it didn't work out, he would have, you know, franchisees would have murdered the guy.
Wow.
You know, he would have lost his job. So he got in the NFL, and then we got involved with Peyton and Jerry Jones with the Cowboys and that family, and we kind of went off to the races with that. So that was Andrew Varga, wasn't John Schnatter.
Wow.
And how many years does that relationship still exist, or how long is it?
No, the NFL relationship ended, I think, in 18.
Okay. All right. So that's probably a good segue to talk about, you know, what the heck happened in 2018 when all the craziness started.
Yeah. We had a succession plan into place, and I'd become a prisoner of my own creation. And you know, we had 5,000 stores at the time. We had over 100,000 employees. And, you know, between commercials, appearances, podcasts, speeches, 162 days a year. So Todd Penago is the CEO of Papa John's. So he's got you know, I mean, almost impossible task because the previous leadership and management left this guy in a really precarious, tough position. They loaded up on debt. You know, they lost their quality. They kind of commoditized. I mean, you do buy one, get one frees, and you run negative comps. You've pretty well commoditized his brand. So you've got a guy that's chasing the Wall Street number because they don't want a hostage takeover. And at the same time, he's a Wendy's guy. We both have a mutual friend. So
You're talking about today.
Today, yeah.
Today.
I mean, so you know, we have a mutual friend, and he was number 2 at Michigan State in golf. So he's obviously sharp, always competitive. He understands R. David Thomas and Wendy's. So he's a good guy. He's just been left a mess, and now he's got a choice of taking care of quality and people, and making sure the franchisees are helping and chasing EPS.
Yeah.
And that is a very death spiral down
Yeah.
to closing stores. So I wish them the best because it's my namesake, but they're in a rough position right now. So
2018, as I understand it, you were having a private board call, and you said something that there were two incidents, right? Maybe you want to two recordings that were leaked. Is that what happened?
no, there was 3 different things that got a lot of press. The first one was when Obamacare came out, everybody's worried that it's going to destroy restaurants and fast food, in our case, the pizza business. And it's like 11 cents, 13 cents a pizza. So on a call, I said, it's not a problem, 11, 13 cents a pizza. Our delivery charge is $2.25, $2.50 a pizza. So with our volume and our traffic, we can absorb that real quickly. And if we have to, we can always raise the price 10 cents a pizza. A very logical comment, and they blew that up. So all I'm saying is that we have if you read it, I mean, it says, if we do have a 13 cent per pizza cost with Obamacare. We had the volume and the frequency to handle it,
Yeah.
and that blew it. So it was like crazy. Okay, there's your first indication that something's going on.
What year was that?
That would have been 2017. No, I think it was November the 31st.
What were they trying to? What was the controversy? What were the implication?
That's the beautiful thing about when you're conservative and you're successful and you have notoriety or influence and you don't go along with the left's ideology, you are marked. I mean, you're marked. I mean, the media is going to attack you because you don't believe in their ideology. And under Biden, the DOJ, the legal system, they will literally, you're not safe. You've lost your freedom of speech. You've lost your liberties in that 4-year period.
They tried to come after us too, so
you walked a mile. You understand the game.
100%.
You go, why? Because you don't agree with them. I mean, and if you don't agree with their ideology,
come after you.
You're going to get attacked. I mean, it's an inhumane. Melania Trump, the most. Graceful, elegant, 4 languages, intelligent. And she gets attacked. Trump.
Don't give up.
Trump's just trying to fix the mess that Biden created. I mean, he doesn't need this.
Exactly.
And late November of last year, the markets are all-time high with open borders.
Yeah.
Interest rates are going to stay the same, maybe go up, and high inflation. High commodities.
People
get
don't
high
understand
gas.
that the inflation is an additional tax, and the inflation that we endured during those past 4 years has been astronomical.
Yeah. You print money because you have deficit spending. It's a hidden tax on the middle class. I want to come back to the middle class because that's the heartbeat. Trump is a middle class guy. He's going to fix the middle class, and that will fix America. So run the movie here for 4 months forward. We now have a secure border. Interest rates are going down. The price of gas is going down. They're not, all these illegal immigrants that are tearing up our cities and doing great harm to our citizens, they're now noticed. If we catch you, we're sending you out of here. So just from
crime has gone down.
Crime has gone down. So fix the border, crimes go down, lower products at the grocery, lower interest rates, lower fuel, and the market crashes. These people are crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why you got you got to be set up with your personal finances.
Yeah.
When they do stupid stuff, you got to pounce on them. You got to pounce on them. And I've been pouncing on these guys now for the last 4 days. Like right now, I'm like, okay, you got to have some dry powder because these guys do nutty things. So
it's almost not logical.
It is illogical.
People don't understand, if he can actually sell $1 million in visas for $5 million each, that is going to take down this debt, this enormous debt that we have that we need to take care of. Otherwise, we're headed towards bankruptcy.
Yeah, he's going to. Trump knows exactly what he's doing. Trump gave us our liberty back. He gave our freedom of speech back. I now know I'm not going to get attacked by the government. But you watch Trump. This guy, nothing. He's always right. I'm usually right if I think about something 99% of the time. I don't miss things if I'm really looking at it. He's right 100% of the time. He's got 10 ways to win. He's going to lower interest rates. He's going to lower inflation. He's going to lower the fuel. He's going to lower crime. He's going to protect the police. He's going to fix the borders. This guy, he's going to set it up where he's got 10 ways to win, and he's going to win. And back to the middle class. What makes America great is the middle class, the lower, middle, and upper class. If they're healthy, the rest of us will do fine. Yeah. That's what differentiates us from Europe and the Soviet Union and all these crazy. They have 1% at the top too, and then the rest of everybody's the same. We have the middle class, and the middle class gets healthy. Which I've been several interviews. I've said, it's 8-10 months. You have no idea how good this is going to get, and you just saw what he did with the tariffs. He's going to do the right thing for the middle class and to make America again. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He's on a mission. And what's really bizarre is he told us what he's going to do. He said tariffs is his favorite word. He puts tariffs in, they crash the market 25%. These people are nuts.
We need to buy some stock. But if you go back to 2017, so basically they're out to get you. Okay, which we understand.
Feel it. You guys can feel it.
Yes.
You know it. You know when somebody's getting ready. They're looking for a technicality.
They tried to pound on you, but you were able to come back. Right. And then the second one was when? When was
the second one was with the NFL. That call was the NFL was 40% of our spend, and their ratings were down 20%. So franchisees, which are nothing but small business owners, are getting hurt. Well, I'm the CEO, I'm the leader, I dictate the pace, and I'm like, Goodell's got to get his act together. And Jerry Jones called me the night before with Dan Snyder and said, you got to call the Goodell out by.
Goodell's the commissioner.
This guy was in charge of having the take a knee.
No, he's the former commissioner of the NFL.
He's still the commissioner.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, who was somebody? They were taking a knee, right? And
Some
Well,
players.
no, they were taking a knee, but I didn't say anything about taking a knee. I didn't say anything. I said this has to be resolved to the owners and players' satisfaction.
Yeah.
That's what I said. That's no more. That's no more, no less. And they turned it into Johns against kneeling, Johns against the players. No, it has to be a mutual agreement, and that's Goodell's job to bring the parties together. And when the players and the owners can't get along, and it's causing controversy and hurting pizza sales, that's not good for Papa John's. It's that simple.
But at the end of the day, what was wrong? Even if you were to say, like, stop this, you're this is an American sport. We're in America. Like, why are you turning your back towards everything that this foundation was built off? Like, what would be wrong with saying that anyway?
I didn't take sides.
I know you didn't, but I mean, even if you did, the fact that you didn't and you still got beat up baffles my mind. But even if you did say something, why is that even a bad thing? Am I missing something? Why is that bad?
Well, I think he had a target on his back. They were out to get him.
I think
That's the key. Okay, don't look at the irrational. Irrational behavior always ends up being immoral results. You open the border up, irrational.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have? Sex trafficking for young girls.
Mm-hmm.
You have fentanyl. You have criminals destroying the city. Irrational behavior always equals immoral. You've got to have rational thought to have moral behavior. Now you can't have irrational thought and moral behavior. You can't just if you ain't rational, you're going to be in the reptilian part of the brain.
Yeah.
If you're
Sure.
there's a lot of people that are rational, they're smart, but they're immoral. That doesn't work. You have to be rational and moral, and that's the success will happen. So but you've made a good point, is that okay, if you're John and you see that get turned into that, you got to be thinking, okay, something fishy's going on here. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty intuitive. I'm not, overly smart, but I'm feeling like I'm under the microscope and they're looking for a technicality.
You weren't excessively outspoken, it sounds like. Were you? Were you one of those people who just, wherever you go, you're talking about conservative this, conservative that? Like, what were you like at the time?
Well, I supported Charles Koch in some universities. And I took a position that entrepreneur spirit and freedom. I'm big on freedoms, voluntary exchange. People are saying, well, tariffs are, not free trade. No, the tariffs are putting on us are not free trade. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, let's just be reciprocal here and get a fair playing field. I mean, so I'm big on free trade, and that's liberal left ideology. And so, no, to carry on in a way that is destructive and divides, I have no time for that. Yeah. So, for example, when the left does crazy things, which they do, instead of really pointing out, what I do is it's simple physics. It's cause and effect. Yeah. If you print money, you're going to cause inflation. Yeah. That's going to hurt the middle class. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, you can say the latter and you don't get a tax. So you got to just say what you say with not in a way that's not offensive, which is it just comes with the territory, because you're dealing with the colleges, the intellects. They don't think rational. And they've turned on the businessman. You've got the folks out there in the left, the ideology that wants to take from the people that produce and take care of the people that don't produce. Yeah. That's socialism. That has never worked in any society. So this ideology, if you're Musk or if you're Trump or if you're anybody that disagrees with them and you're successful, then they demonize you, and but you just got to stay strong and say, I'm going to do the right thing. And when you see the middle class taking the beating, I mean, the middle class, this last 16 out of, 12 out of 16 years those people have gotten hurt. And when you have the people that wake up every day and make this country great, and they're in a system where they're printing money, they're devaluating the dollar, they're regulating entrepreneurs, they're opening borders, people aren't safe, the middle class doesn't have a chance. Under Trump, the middle class is going to thrive. When they thrive, America's going to thrive.
And this middle class is your franchisees, it's your employees, it's your customers. And you saw, the NFL ratings dropping 20%, which is a direct impact on the store locations, and you just are being outspoken on what you think needs to be done in order to improve the situation.
The players and owners have to come to resolution here, because you're hurting the Papa John brand, you're hurting the NFL, and you're hurting all the other sponsors.
Yeah.
Papa John's, we were the number one brand at 65%. The next was like Budweiser at 41, and it drops down. I think Verizon at 20. So with Peyton, we're the number one brand in the NFL by far, and I'm calling Goodell out, going, hey, you're the leader. This is a problem. Address the problem and solve for the problem. And that as powerful as NFL is, Goodell was friends with Kathy Wasserman, who was with Laundry Service, who set me up. And
Laundry Service was the marketing firm?
Marketing firm.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that, because that was crazy.
I stepped down informally middle, end of 16. And with Papa John's was like the best place to work for 5 years. We're making $200 million in EBITDA, $160 million in pre-tax profits. Quality, we're winning every award. We have a balance sheet with maybe 1 year's debt on it. I mean, it's as good as it gets.
What was the stock price?
Stock price was good day. High, I think, was 88.
Wow.
We were 85, but $80 a share.
Wow.
Yeah, this is end of 2016. So we had a succession plan with a gentleman named Steve Ritchie, who'd been with me, hired him at $6 an hour as a driver.
Wow.
So he'd been with the company for 22 years. He was my succession plan. And a really talented guy, got a lot going for him. And so we tried to groom him for 2-3 years to take over the CEO spot, because I'd become a prisoner of my own creation. I mean, when you're doing 162 commercials, interviews, speeches, et cetera, and you're trying to run a public company, you just overwhelmed. It's 16 hours a day full on. Yeah. And furthermore, you're spread too thin. Like the franchisees, they just want TLC. They want John's attention.
Yeah.
And when you got 5,000 stores and 100,000 employees, you don't have time to fraternize and chum with everybody. And so when you don't spend time with people, they kind of start seeing the boogeyman. And the thing I'm most proud of with the franchisees, who I love dearly, who help create my wealth, is we never lied or cheated in business. I protected that board and that management team and those employees and those franchisees with my life. Because if the franchisees aren't successful and the employees aren't happy, it won't work. Right. And so it's in my best interest to make sure, the franchisees, the operators, the people in the building, my communities, Wall Street, it's to make sure it's a win-win-win all the way around. And so when I turned it over to Richie in 17, we had win-win everywhere. January, February, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? Because the quality's slipping, and
leadership is everything.
Leadership starts at the top.
Yeah.
So by May, I get voted in as the chairman. 99% on the shareholders vote me into the board, and then we did after discovery. And Mark Shapiro got a $40 million package from Endeavor, because when I left, they gave him the marketing business, which is a conflict of interest, which they know I wouldn't have gone along with. Laundry Service did the setup. And if you ask 100% of the franchisees, is John a racist? They'll say John's the nicest guy, they'll say no. If you ask 100% of the franchisees, was John set up? 100% say, well, yeah, he was set up. So
for the viewers, basically, you were in a call where you were explicit. We're not going to say or do racist things. Colonel Sanders said this, and drop of the N-bomb. But we're not doing it that way, and they took off. They took it out of context.
The whole meeting, they're antagonizing. It's so corrupt on every level. I mean, every stone you turn over, you find a new piece of evidence going, this is just dirty pool.
You're massively set up.
Wow.
Massively set up. Yeah, and that's agreed with everybody.
But is the lawsuit still going?
Yeah, they appealed the ruling to go to a bench trial, and we're waiting for the appeal to come back.
And you're suing Laundry Services,
Laundry Service,
right?
Yeah.
The marketing.
Yeah.
7 years
crazy.
later, you're still litigating.
Yeah, there's 10 million words a year put into law. They can find something on it. And that's what I say. Back to the conversation with Goodell. I knew they were looking for a technicality. I'm trying to make sure there's a technicality. I know something's going on. Yeah. I just thought it was from the DNC or from the media or from the press. I had no idea that people I loved.
Yeah,
I mean, and that was a hard part, because, I love these people. We went on trips together. After this happened, I thought, okay, the board just doesn't understand. This is just a simple mistake. Yeah. And so we kept doing discovery. And then it was like, okay, we got these guys. I thought once the board had the emails, the tape, and saw what going, I thought they would come clean. I thought they would say, oh my God, this guy's the namesake. He's the founder. He's the face of the brand. He's the authenticity of the brand. He built 5,000 stores from zero, to your point. We got to correct the record here, and because Papa John's has never done anything to help me. They should be the ones carrying on a lawsuit about an agency sets the brand up, the founder up, the face, which creates a huge problem because Papa John's has a curse over it. And then so until Papa John's gets the record straight, they got to live with the curse that they did this to the very guy that created the company.
To the John in Papa John.
Papa John. I think they got a problem. I just don't, there's a system out there. There is a system, and you can't beat the system, no matter how sharp you are, cunning, good looking. And and so.
Well, they
but
went
the problem,
from $88 down to what, 30,
went
35?
to 142 down to 35. But and it's going to get where it's a $25 stock. They're propping it up with EPS and dividend. Borrow money to pay dividends. I mean, this is not a good situation. This thing's the next year. There's nothing but bad news going to come out of that company. And the question is how long does Todd want to put up with it?
So how bad? What did it feel like? Was it like a light switch? All of a sudden you're out, and like, what am I? I don't know. What the hell just happened here? Like, what was that?
You have that, and then you have the emotional wallop. I want Papa John's to do great, and and I don't think until you amend this, and get this fixed.
You just came back to help because it was falling. Right? So that's why you came back in 2017, right? 2018.
So this is not a good situation for a board of directors. Now, sooner or later, somebody's going to buy the company, or they'll get, the board of directors that are on.
You remember the whole Arthur Andersen debacle. Right. I was an auditor there, and that was one lawyer who took down a multi-billion-dollar firm by a big mistake she made. So there's history of that happening. Yeah,
I wanted to tell your listeners, one thing is, if you have 10 people that are partners or board directors, and you got one bad apple, it is amazing how that one person can disrupt the whole enterprise. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay, back to it. Okay, this goes down. I'm like in a state of shock. It's like, racist. I mean, when I first heard on the radio, I was driving, I'm going, racist, good luck with that. I mean, and the beautiful thing about this is they couldn't find enough violations, Sarbanes-Oxley, bad performance of the company. They couldn't find enough dirt on John. They had to make something up. That's the ultimate compliment. Wow. It's a false narrative. There's just no history of not treating everybody with kindness and love. It's just my nature because it's in my best interest.
You seem like a loving guy.
Yeah, man, in my life I've been beautiful.
That's like my husband. He's a loving guy.
Why God's giving me this life? I mean, how he planned this out? I mean, I live the best life of anybody in the world. I mean, every day. Yeah.
These things strengthen your soul. Like, you should feel like stronger from it.
Yeah. Well, of course, they can't hurt me. I mean, they're. Like I feel sorry for these people. They're in a situation where they're. This is going to be a death of 1,000 small cuts if they don't own this. Right. Me, I mean, I've got the best life in the world. I've got beautiful friends and a beautiful dog. I love my community. I mean, I love my family. I got my grandson, my daughter. I mean, it's just, I got the best. Why God's giving me this life, I have no idea. But it's like magical every day.
So how low did you get, if you don't mind sharing?
Did not get low.
Did not get low.
Okay, until. I didn't get low because I just wanted to set the record straight, and I thought once the board and everybody saw that this was a setup, that the intent of my wording was anti-racist. I'm an anti-racist, and it's like no, you guys got this wrong. Yeah. I would never do what this guy has done, and so they turned it into a racist comment, mischaracterized it, took it out of context, and did a lot of damage to me. I mean, I've forgiven them. I'm not carrying this around. They're not getting any of my power, but what they did to my franchisees, what they're doing, what they've done to my employees. I mean, 400,000 families, 400 families in Louisville, and all these managers in the stores have gotten taken advantage of. That's the part I'm having trouble getting over. But remember, Christ had it right. Buddha said, it's love, truth, and forget. If you're truthful and you really care about people, moral behavior, and forgiveness, that's the piece that took me time. It was like an animal. It was like, okay, you guys need me more than I need you, but to really in your soul forgive everybody that was in this, your friends, your executives, that took a lot of work on John to get to the point where, but I'm not going to carry that around.
How long did it take you? I know it's a process.
Okay.
You were basically betrayed
well,
by people you've known for 20 years, right? I mean,
they
all turned their backs
I
on
got
you.
sucker punched, crucified in July of 18. We had the truth out in December 18, January, and that's where it happened. Like, wow, I didn't want to see it. The people I love actually did this. It's like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh darn, that was hard.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Sorry.
The betrayal.
And then it was like, okay, it's done.
You feel alone? Ashamed?
No, not ashamed.
Lonely. It's lonely for you.
I felt okay. You got to go. You got to start over. So I went back to my high school, went back to the bar, went back to my mom, and Peyton taught me this. You have to level set. So June 19, it's done. It's time to level set and build. And so that year, I forgave them intellectually, but I still had this lawsuit, and they still kept coming on and hanging on to it. And then probably the last 2 or 3 years, it was like, I just do not want any negative energy going to Papa John's. So if you look at my correspondence and my letters, it was like, be constructive. This is what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And then I was free about 18 months ago, 2 years. I was like, told you guys you're going to crash this. Told you not to do this. Told you got to come clean. You got to fix the record. And they kept doing it. And it was like, it's not going to affect me no matter what they do, no matter what anybody does, no matter what Wall Street does.
Well, how did you free your soul from that pain, from that betrayal, from knowing that, like, this is your baby. This is where your blood, sweat, and tears for how many years?
34.
34 years? Like, what did you do? Like, I know for us, when we were going through our drama, it was a lot of prayers, it was a lot of meditation, it was a lot of soul searching, and it was a lot of asking God, okay, I'm going this for a reason. I haven't figured out what it is yet. I know you're strengthening my soul, but just asking for that peace. Like, what did you do? How did you get through it?
My partner and I, who I love dearly, I went back through the notes, and we found the notes for July 2020, and we level set. We went through physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, friends. We went through 12 attributes, and I rated myself on every single one. And then every year I kept rating. I'll go, am I more fit? Do I have a better caliber of friend around me? Am I waking up grateful? If you're truthful and you're grateful and humble and gracious and give thanks to whatever's going on here, because this is life itself. The fact we're sitting here is mind-numbing. The fact that we can breathe and talk. There's one sentence, we activate 4 billion neurons in our brain, 4 billion in 1 second. This is crazy. What your heart does to keep you alive. As long as you're thankful for that opportunity to live life, it's pretty hard to get yourself in trouble. You can, and plus you sleep good, and that's one thing I've always done is sleep good. Because we always did right by the system. We always did right by our employees, our communities, our suppliers, and our franchisees.
So you basically were focused on the gratitude, the blessings you have in life. Like, that's what healed your heart. That's what brought you out of feeling rejection, your people turning your back on you, like what you did, you tap into.
You realize that at the end of the day you're going to be in that coffin by yourself. So all you got's you, and my friends, I said, you take care of you. You don't lose your independent, and that's what I would tell your audience. Don't lose your independent critical judgment. That's where entrepreneur comes from. You think differently. Yeah. Ford thought differently. Job thinks. Musk thinks. They think differently. And the left wants you to think the way that you think. That's completely antithetical to entrepreneurship. Completely. So we're at 220. We now have the list, and so every day, every year, you keep.
Where were you getting where did you give yourself a low score into February 20?
The physical was always a 7 or 8. So even when I gained a little, so it was pretty good with the fitness. Okay. But I did take that to, an 8 or 9. You don't want to be a 10 on the fitness because that's all you do. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to slip down to a 7.5. Yeah.
Got some muscles.
Yeah.
I'll show you my gym afterwards.
Would love that.
You can do some pull-ups.
The emotional scarring. Do you want to be paranoid? Love plus caring about somebody. Mm-hmm. Plus trust equals safety. Yeah. All we want to do with people is be safe. Mm-hmm. We want, that's why the ego is it wants predictability because it feels safety when you're in that. And so you have to have people around you that you can trust. Yeah. And I get criticized because all of my coaches say I'm an overgiver. And I want to be an overgiver. I got everything in the world. Why? And they said, well, you attract overtakers.
You two are very similar.
I think so.
Well, you two are very similar.
That's why That's why you got
I got a giver.
Dishwashers.
That's why you got more success than I have. That's in the fabric of everybody that's successful long term. Mm-hmm. But love plus trust equals safety. We just want to be safe. Yeah. And an overgiver. My one coach, who I think's kind of a spiritual bankrupt, but I don't, says, yeah, but you attract overtakers. And my answer to that is maybe short term. They may get me once or twice, but what it does, it forces you to get rid of them. Yes. Like the tribe I have around me today.
And you learn from that. Yeah. We've had some overtakers in our life, right?
Yeah.
And we learn a lot.
Yeah. We've learned a lot.
But see,
best lessons of our life.
But 2 overgivers together is beauty. That's godliness. Yeah. So as an overgiver, sooner or later you're going to attract overgivers, and then the game's over. Yeah. Then it's every day is whether it's my partner, whether it's my friends. By the way, the caliber, I tell you the greatest gift I got of this, besides I'm no longer a prisoner of my own creation. Yeah. The fact that when I had it was doing great, and now you got all these really smart folks that are running the company, these corporate folks, and the thing's crashing. So you feel pretty good about your competence. Yeah. But the caliber of people I have me around now is head and shoulders above what I had in 2018. The people around me now, this would never happen. They would never happen. What happened?
That's interesting you say that because we had the same experience. The community we had pre-COVID is totally different who we have now. And who we have now feels a lot more authentic. Yeah. They're a lot more authentic to our souls, but it's also been a leveling up experience where maybe certain people were hanging around us just because, of our status or whatever. But now the people that are around us, it feels like they're with us because they're with us.
So you're a pillar of the Kentucky the world that you live in. Everybody knows who you are. To this day, are there people out there who don't know that the record has been set straight, that think poorly of you, that have bought into this, that Papa John is a racist? Yeah,
the most powerful emotion there is love. It's the positive. It's the best. The most negative emotion is jealousy, resentment. And so if you have success, it just takes a really high caliber person to not be jealous. And when you're Papa John and everybody's throwing themselves at you and the company's making $200 million a year and you're on the TV every 8 seconds, you're just asking for a bunch of insecure males around you, especially, to take a shot. What was the question on?
When you're walking around to this day, are there people out there in your community where you grew up and everybody knows who you are? that think poorly of you.
They don't. That didn't happen like that.
No?
That's like, here's the three things: the sun's going to come up, the sun's going to go down, and the truth's going to come out.
Yeah.
Papa John's can sit on this as long as they want. Sooner or later, somebody's going to go in there and say, unless we clean this up with the name of the brand, the namesake, the face of the brand,
They need to do the right thing.
they have to do the right thing, or the brand's dead.
Would you go back?
That's a whole. I don't have any desire to be on TV. And we talked about energy.
What if it was only on TV and you weren't involved in operation?
I wouldn't do the TV. The product's not. I wouldn't put my name on the product right now. It's too substandard.
Probably you would need to go in and help with the operations, clean that part up.
100%. I know exactly what to do. I know what lever to push, how to push it, how fast to push it, and how to get them to do with. I mean that piece. 95% sure I can get the right people on the bus in the right seats. It's a technology deal. It's a procurement deal. It's a quality deal. It's a culture deal. So those people are lined up out the door to go back in. Okay, can I get 60% chance I can get them to do what they have to do? Energy. The energy to do what I just told you, not a problem. To get 100,000 employees to change their habits. It takes 20 days to form a habit, 40 days to solidify it. To get people to go from subpar, mediocre behavior to we're going to be the Chick-fil-A, the Texas Roadhouse, the wear and tear on me, on my energy to permeate. I mean, if I went back in, every manager in every store in the North America would, in 1 week, would know I'm back in.
We did the turnaround in 3 weeks of your dad's tavern.
Yeah, we've done it 3 times. Really 2, it's documented, but we fixed it 3 times, so we know how to do that.
You know how to do this.
But I would do a lot of praying, a lot of meditating, and then talk to a lot of smart people like you before I try to take that on. What I would like to do is, if I could give Todd some advice, I think, he's probably doing 95% of what he knows what to do. He's just in a position where he doesn't have the resources to do it. And I think if we clean this up where I'm a cheerleader of the company, I think that would be all I really care about. Because I have kids and grandkids, I don't want them reading this stuff. And back to your question on, this happened. I've been out in public now 7 years. Nobody's ever said one negative thing to me. Not one. So the public didn't buy it. Public said, this doesn't make any sense. This is fishy. That was a gift from God. Because if the public thinks, ill of me, I guess you could be a rapist or a murderess, but they paint you as a pedophile, as a freaking racist. It's not good. Yeah. It's not good.
Is there, when bad things happen to people, at least I do, I tend to look inward. What did I do? What would you have done? What could you have done differently? What did you do? Could you have done better? What ownership can you take for getting you in the jam that you got into in the first place?
Every second of the day, believe it or not, the Creator is giving us tools, insight on how we need to do better in life, how we need to be more enlightened. It doesn't feel like it, and it may not, but if you really listen, you're getting counsel all day, every day on how to be the best version of John, or whoever you are. It's I think positive energy and being good. I don't know if I answered your question, but I think I think every day's a learning lesson to try to get better.
Would you have rephrased comments that you made?
Definitely would have said the word regardless in closed meeting. For sure. There's a saying that the Buddhist, the master, somebody comes up behind and knocks him in the head with a ball bat. And what does the Buddhist get up and knock the guy? What does the Buddhist, what does the wisdom, the wise guy do? And the answer is, a wise guy, the right Buddhist, would have known the guy was coming before he hit him. Your consciousness. Raise your level of awareness. And I did not see this coming.
Self-destructive.
I did not see that. I knew something was going on. I knew I was getting attacked. I knew that I was going to get hung on a technicality. I just didn't know it would be an inside job. I think what sources taught me is I need to raise my level of awareness. More self-awareness and more awareness around me. I think that's the lesson with that.
Do you think you were maybe your ego was potentially inflated at the time?
Like all of us, I think my ego's a problem right now. It's the ego's a double-edged sword. You got to have the confidence and the self-awareness and reliance that you can do great things. Yeah. But again, you got to be rational. open-minded, but you have to be moralistic with your, with your approach.
It's the default world, which is hyper-competitive, and people want to take out your legs from underneath you and be spiritual and loving and connected and gracious and all those things. If you can't do one or the other, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, very difficult.
Yeah.
The guys at Chick-fil-A pulled it off. Those guys are connected to source. I mean, they just, the way they treat their employees, the Cathy family, that comes from Truett. But those guys, their chicken's good, and their culture's great, and it's great value. But those guys, the decisions they make, they're getting, it's like the framers. The framers, they had actually churches outside of the rooms in Congress. They had places to pray. They were constantly in touch with the divine on making sure they made the greatest document ever created by man, which is the Declaration, the U.S. Constitution. But they're in Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins. Those guys are connected.
Sure.
But it seems like to me that they ate their own. You know what I mean? Like
ate their own.
You know what I mean? Like you ate your own. Like you're their face. You're the soul of your company. You're not gonna defend that person.
Well, they were on their way out.
But,
They were going to
no, but even though they were on their way out, there were other board members that stayed there that could have jumped in to say, no, this was all a misunderstanding. It didn't happen that way, and they could have gone after the media and basically even they could have even sued the media and said you are
got it all wrong.
You are destroying our brand by your lies.
Yeah. Good point.
Listen to the footage carefully. He is the opposite of that. If they would have done that, their stock price probably
10
would
board
be
members, right?
over
But
$100.
if you had a Jordan Zimmerman and a Patrick Gentemo or one of you two on that board, no way this would ever happen. They took the easy way out. Said, okay, we got one guy, let's take him out and it solves all our problems. Total cowards.
No, we're fighters.
Total cowards. Yeah, they were.
We'd be like, time out.
Time out.
Yeah.
Let's give this 4 or 5
Yeah.
weeks to an investigation
Yeah.
and see what's really going on.
Yeah.
And they overreacted and they've destroyed this company. It's amazing story. One day I think this will be a Harvard case. And
It sounds like it.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's
Tom Cruise can play
it's
you.
interesting because I will share a little personal of what happened with us in the school, but I had a leadership team, and half the leadership team pretty much stabbed me in the back and ran. They quit in the middle of the chaos. Mm-hmm. And then the ones that stayed by my side are still with me to this day. And I think about them, and sometimes I even get teary-eyed because I tell them sometimes, I felt like I was Caesar walking through my own town not knowing who was going to stab me in the back. But I knew you guys had my back. Yeah. And I was comfortable and safe with you guys. I couldn't imagine if I was in your shoes feeling everybody just turned their back on me,
No, it wasn't like that. Tim O'Hearn,
the
Denise
board.
the board. But
talking about the board because those were your guys.
No, I kept the board really independent. They have no clue on how to run a pizza company. There's no institutional knowledge on that board.
No, but they could have stood up for you and said stop, protected you.
And that's the problem is when you're really good at something, you make it look easy. So you've got these jealous males that you're seeing John get all the attention. I have 10 million shares, so if the stock goes up $2 in a day, I make $20 million. So they're so jealous, and they're telling the board, we can do this better than John. And the board they were suckers. They went along with it.
Yeah. So you were. Have you always been spiritual or religious, or is this a more recent thing?
My mom always was totally fanatical about integrity. That was just non-negotiable. And I remember I asked my grandfather when I was 6, and I said, Papa, because you see these different religious dogmas. And at 6, at 7, I knew, my Papa was my mentor. I said, Papa, is there a God? He goes, there's God. Trust me, there's a God. And then you look at the various religions, and you kind of got to go, okay, they set boundaries for youth, and they do have, commandments, and so I think it's where religious kind of falls apart is where it gets to the point where they're trying to control you and don't realize the locus of control is you controlling you. But the system was, we were pretty high that there's a system out there that you can't beat in 2020. It was like, every time I get myself slightly in the gray, I mean, I like get knocked upside the head. I'm like, so you just learn, don't get yourself in the gray.
In the gray, defined as
it's something that over here is like this is just outright wrong. This is right, and you're over here right, and it slips a little bit in the middle. You can't even slip, in the middle. You don't have to be perfect, but in your soul, your heart, when you're a little bit like I really shouldn't be going along with this, and I think in 30s and 40s you kind of. Like, okay, you'll tickle the tail of the dragon a little bit, but every time you get over here, you get your head knocked off, so you just learn to play it straight. We had that piece in 2000, the turn of the century. The whole quantum work with Dispenza and Einstein's theory of relativity equals MC squares, the field controls the particles, we've been hitting on that for about 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
After the controversy started.
After the controversy.
Okay.
That's another thing, is that I wouldn't have had the friends, but also was a prisoner of my own creation. I wouldn't have had time to work on John.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had kept that up, I'd have lost 10 years, 15 years off my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an unbelievably difficult job.
Yeah, I can imagine.
God doesn't make any mistakes.
We jumped into our spiritual, search when we sold our company in 2017, 2018.
Something like that.
And we really it helped us also be able to just go deep and figure out, like, look, how can we, raise our consciousness? How can we be better people? How can we learn from everything that is coming our way?
And what are we
That's
gonna
beautiful.
do? And what are we going to do in life? Make more money? Another business? This was not doing anything. Now we got very clear on our mission, our purpose, and our ambition is no less than before. Except now we're doing things that ideally will uplift humanity and make a few bucks, so that we can scale even more and do even greater things for humanity.
Yeah, you're the two of the luckiest people on the planet, because you have the wealth to do whatever you want. You have what I call Leonardo. You have freedom, curiosity, and creativity. That's if you got freedom, that's a beautiful thing. And you have a partner, and then you have a purpose.
I'm the luckiest guy in the world, that's for sure.
I have a partner. I got freedom. I got curiosity. So the purpose. I'm like, okay, what's going to happen here? But again, if you're doing the work on John and you're doing the right thing, the purpose will show up. Yeah. And you'll know when it shows up. And
you'll feel it in your soul.
Yeah. When I pray, the thing that comes back to me is, because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm allergic to patience. I don't have any patience. So, but my work says, be patient but opportunistic. Yeah. So what that is, it hasn't come across my desk yet, but I'm having a beautiful day every day. Kind of waiting for that day.
Mm-hmm.
Before we sold our company, I would pray to God, and I would say, okay, God, close to selling. I have no idea what we're going to do next, but you just show us the way, you guide us, and we will listen. And, fast forward, we own schools, a farm, a ranch, a wellness center. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see where you're trying to take us. And we're very heavily, we are good friends with Bobby Kennedy. Of course, we supported President Trump. So and then the fact that he got nominated into that position, we're like, and I'm, we're standing up against the COVID shot, and we're doing all these things. So I'm realizing, all right, God, you're taking us down this path of health and the awareness. We have a beautiful soul in our wellness center right now who, beginning of March, she was sent home by her medical team to basically told her, you have 2 weeks to live. She had cancer, and it's been 4 weeks, and she's fully alive, and every day she's getting better than the day before. So I'm just like, okay, God, every day you show me what you want me to see, and you guide me to where you want me to go, because I'm your loyal servant. And I know you blessed us with the material things that's really yours, not ours, to do something good with it. And so it will fall on your lap. When it's time, when it's ready for you to make that next move, it's just going to happen. And you're going to feel it in your soul.
Amen to that. Einstein said it best. He says, every second of every day is a miracle, or it's not. You either believe one way or the other.
Papa John, thank you so much for coming. What a wonderful guest you are. Thank you for opening up and being so vulnerable. Appreciate you, too.
You're amazing.
Yeah. I've enjoyed meeting you.
Good luck with everything.
Congratulations on all your success.
Yeah,
thank you so much.